joined today by Mike Rosenstreich, Managing Director of Helix Resources. Mike, thanks for your time.
How are you going, David?
Talking about your recent quarterly, seems like a bit of a drilling update for Canbeligo. What were some of the highlights?
Yeah, look, I wanted to wrap up the whole Canbeligo program because the program was quite slow the way it rolled out, being all diamond drilling. And I wanted to highlight that we've actually, we completed 5 significant diamond holes. We hit copper in every single one of them. And I think the results speak for themselves. In some ways, we hit spectacular high-grade copper on our second hole, and I think that set expectations for the rest of them. So we had, 18 metres at 3.4% copper, and then everyone was expecting everything else to be the same. But the rest of the holes were actually typical Canbeligo sort of grades. 10 metres at 1.6% copper is still very encouraging. And what the program did was it extended mineralisation along strike at depth and vertically down over several hundred metres. So I think that's going to be very positive in terms of when we do a resource estimate from it. And people have been making comments about 1.6% copper. I don't think they realise that our neighbours to the north at Eris, Tritton, underground reserve grade of around 1.4% copper, Murrawumbi, similar sort of grades, open pit grades of less than 1% copper. So I think it's really interesting in terms of being in that potentially viable zone, and certainly warrants us going on and doing more drilling there.
And what's next at Canbeligo?
Surface electromagnetic surveys. We've got those 2 prospects to the south and to the west, to the east, where we haven't done any follow-up. It's been a bit frustrating in terms of getting on the ground there, weather, COVID, availability of crews, but I want to get in there and do that surveying, and I would like to be back in there drilling before Christmas, subject to discussing and agreeing it with our joint venture partner, Eris Resources.
Moving to the east, the Collarina Trend and the CZ deposit. You've got a good sized resource there and drilling underway, and I understand getting some good visible hits.
Yes, and we reported those in the quarterly. But we've got about a 3,000 to 4,000 metre drill program underway there at the moment, and it's got 3 core aims. One is metallurgical samples, one is to extend the shallow oxide copper resource, and thirdly, with a combination of reverse circulation and diamond coring, to look for extensions and explore around the existing resource to grow it out. And that's happening right now.
And you do have a sizable resource to be used as a foundation to build with those results?
Absolutely, there's 2 million tonnes at 2% copper there. So that kind of gives us a good footprint to now be reaching out to do more work. That's right.
And why met sampling and drilling now? Some may think it's expensive and maybe a little early, but clearly there's a strategy behind this.
It's a good point. The reason that we're doing large diameter diamond core drilling at CZ for metallurgical test work is because with the diamond core we get a lot of geological information. A lot of the central CZ mineral resource has been drilled by RC and hasn't been geologically or fully geologically logged or even sampled. And so if we get into the central part of the deposit with diamond core, we're able to get a lot of geological data out, improve our understanding and take that knowledge out to find extensions of that resource.
So it's all part of the strategy?
Look, it is. And the other thing is that I want to demonstrate to people that we are on a development pathway. Our core focus is to find more copper, but if we do metallurgical test work, and there's never been any done before, we demonstrate to people that we're looking at what the processing characteristics of our mineralisation are, and we understand them, and we're on a development pathway.
And what can we expect from CZ in the next few months?
Look, there's a lot happening there. We've finished the metallurgical drilling. We're preparing that drill core for assay and submission to the sample lab now. We've finished the shallow reverse circulation drilling for the oxide resource. Those samples are in the lab, and I'm hoping that those assays will come out in about 3 to 4 weeks' time. And then we'll have ongoing assay results coming out from the combined RC diamond tail program, and they'll come out probably from about 5 weeks away up until Christmas and beyond. So there's going to be this ongoing assay news flow, as well as geological observations. Interesting thing about copper, whether it's oxide and it's blue or green, or it's sulfide and it's silvery yellow colour, you get a strong visual indication of it, and that's material, and we enjoy sharing that with our shareholders.
You've recently expanded the exploration team on the ground, and you've also created and established an exploration office in Orange. How important is that to the strategy, and what sort of results are you seeing from that investment?
I think it's critical. So there's no more fly in and out geos from Western Australia, COVID restrictions aside. We've now got a geological team that's got significant legacy experience in the central New South Wales Cobar area. So there's that knowledge. They go home every night, but they also collaborate as they're driving around, talking to each other. They're invested in the projects. So there's a lot more technical collaboration that happens, and it's cost effective. So we're in the community, we're spending money locally, and we're not flying back and forth to Western Australia. And whilst our office in Orange and our exploration base has grown, the office that you're sitting in here now is shrinking. So there's very few people that work out of this office, and so we're reducing those costs.
There has been a bit of discussion on your tenement acquisition with Alpha HPA. Can you share a little bit about that and the nickel cobalt strategy behind it?
It is an interesting question. I have had comments about it, and the concern is that we're losing focus. And what drew me to Cobar was the copper potential. However, with the transaction with Alpha HPA, we're able to rationalise all of these pre-existing royalty and joint venture relationships that go back quite a few years. And so simplifying that, we're able to acquire additional ground prospective for copper. And along with that comes this nickel cobalt resource, which Alpha owned. And it's a really interesting resource. It has high nickel and cobalt grades comparative to other types of deposits of that type. We have some nearby high grade nickel and cobalt intercepts in drilling that Helix did several years ago, so there's an opportunity to grow that resource. And thirdly and critically, the metallurgy, the preliminary work that was done 5-6 years ago shows high recoveries of nickel and cobalt at atmospheric pressure. So none of these sort of high pressure acid leach plants that we've had scattered around Western Australia and made the news through the 90s and early noughties. So it's really just an opportunity at the side, and we'll look at different ways of funding that and creating value for our shareholders. But our core focus remains the copper prospectivity. As we put in the quarterly, our cash position at the end of September was $3.7 million. We have had some unexpected costs in relation to some legacy issues that we're managing in Chile and in New South Wales, but we have been able to find some offsetting cost savings against that. With that 3.7, I anticipate that we will be sufficiently funded to continue an aggressive drilling campaign well into Q3, early Q4 of next year. So that's an opportunity to really realise some of those regional prospects and resource growths that we're talking about now.
And what are you most excited about or looking forward to from Helix from here?
It's getting stuck into the regional targets. We have to do work around the resources, and there's tremendous opportunity to grow those resources, but to take that knowledge and carry on doing the regional work. We flew that VTEM survey at the start of the year. It really highlighted the underexplored nature of that ground. I want to be able to demonstrate that to our shareholders. And look, I am a little bit frustrated at the speed that we've been able to get on the ground, but I can't help the weather, I can't help the cropping cycles or COVID and these issues. But we have many work programs planned and approved to get out there and test these regional targets and really grow that project pyramid of advanced resources, emerging prospects and early stage regional targets. That's what's really exciting, to build that profile up.
Well funded, a high quality technical team, some would say world-class assets, and a clear focus on driving shareholder value. Mike, exciting times ahead. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, David.